For supplies, I'm going to be using a size 8. We're going to be doing a bit of dry brush technique. I then have my Princeton size 10 and then also my Princeton size 20, just to get the entire page wet and ready. Then for colours, we're really going for a really nice warm autumn palette. So I recently got some, what are they? Daniel Smith. I got Undersea green, I think it is. Let me just check. Yes, it is Undersea green. And then I also got burnt sienna. And then I had these, instead of ordering more plastic, I have these shells. So I actually just poured them in here and then let it to dry so that I can use it as a pan colour instead of a tube colour. So I've got Undersea green, I've got sap green, burnt sienna, I have cadmium orange, cadmium yellow, cadmium red with a little bit of burnt sienna and then some burnt umber. So the next thing you're going to need, obviously, jar of water, but I've also got washi tape. So this is the technique that we're going to be using today. There are many different ways you can paint birch trees, but we're going to have some fun. We're going to play with colour, we're going to do lots of splashing, lots of wet on wet. So I have 3 different size washi tapes, as you can see here. I get these from my local craft store. If you have only one size, that's absolutely fine. You can cut it down the middle to make 2 thinner sizes. But I have these different sizes, so I thought it would be fun to be able to do different size trees and have them vary. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take your washi tape, whoops, like so, and we're just going to be placing it down the page from the top all the way to the bottom, like so. And then we're just going to be we're going to be varying these. So we want the page to be quite filled with trees. And then this is we're going to paint first the background and then we'll go in to paint the trees. So some of the trees can be bent inwards, they can be bent outwards. Just sort of don't let every tree be completely straight. If the lighting has changed quite a bit since we've started this video, we are truly having very autumnal weather here in the UK. So it is rain, sunshine, sunshine. So I'm trying to adjust the lighting so that you can actually see what I'm doing today. So I finished. So I put down some tape and then I decided to move it around again. Just felt like some were too close and some were too far. So play around with it, but this sort of composition looks fine to me. So I'm happy with this now, and we're going to move on to the next step. So the next step is I'm taking my size 20, so nice large brush, use any that you have, and I'm just going to make sure that all my washi tape is down first, properly stuck to the page, and I'm just going to now wet all the space in between and let that water start to soak into the paper. So the first thing we're painting is the background, and then we're going to leave that dry and then go in with our trees. So that's fine. I'm happy with that water. I'm gonna let it sit down for 10 seconds, let some of that water absorb through. I'm gonna take again my size 10, and when you start with colours in watercolour, you want to start off with your lightest colour, because if I put down the green and then go in with the yellow, it's going to turn it muddy. So the first thing we want to do is you want to have a look at your palette, whatever colours you've chosen, and you want to go for the lightest. So obviously the lightest in this palette is yellow. So taking yellow, I'm just going to start by flicking and dashing. We're sort of creating a lovely hue of, oh, the orange has leaked into my yellow. That's lovely. Just by creating sort of an abstract forest scene, and this is just very easy to do, so just have fun with it. There is no right or wrong way to do this, so I'm going to leave it like that. And the next step, we're going to go in with our orange. Again, just taking your brush, flicking some colour so you've got lovely little small pieces of the colour running through, and then going in, adding some orange and some larger splodges, I guess we can call them. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. Then we're going to go in with burnt sienna. This is such a lovely colour, and I use it for so many different ways. It's just going to add a lovely warm tone, because obviously autumn is not very bright, it's very warm and colourful. So let's go in and add a nice amount of this beautiful colour. And you can go in with your darker colour and add it on top of your lighter ones. That's not going to turn the colour muddy, but it's really funny how when you reverse it and you put light on top of dark, it does. However, that's not the case obviously for acrylic or gouache or oil, just for watercolour. So you can see we're starting to get sort of a lovely scene, you know, there's so much going on, and it's just, once we add in the trees, it's going to look really, really beautiful. Now I'm going to go in with the red colour that we've mixed. So this is just cadmium red, and I've put in a little bit of burnt sienna into it just to warm it up so it's not as plain red. Again, just tapping before we go in. And then let's go in and add some more colour. Do some sort of like you're doing leaves, very loose leaves everywhere. And what you can do if you want to make it a little bit interesting is make sure to have your darker colours at the top and sort of towards the edges, and then keep your lighter colours towards the centre, and that's just going to create a little bit of depth by making it seem that the forest sort of gets lighter in towards the middle. I'm not particularly worried about that, but that's just a nice technique that you can add in. Okay, now I'm going to go in with our greens. So we're going to go in with our beautiful sap green. This one is by Winsor Newton, and it's just a lovely bright green. We have to have green in an autumn forest. I think this one I'm just going to do it in small dashes. Oh, we've got no colour here. Didn't see that we abandoned this section. Okay, so then now going in with our Undersea green, which has a lovely blue and sort of a brown undertone to it. Just go in with the dashes, and then let's go and add, this is really gonna change the forest and just add in that beautiful depth. Oh, such a beautiful colour. I discovered it the other day. I went into an art shop, a new one that I haven't actually been to before, and I just saw all of these colours and I just couldn't help myself. I must not be the only one obsessed with buying new art supplies. I try and stop myself and I say, you know, you have enough. And I also think it's really good as an artist for you to learn how to work with limited supplies. Obviously, always need paper, and that's something you should always have on you, but it doesn't need to be expensive. And you know, but definitely having so many palettes and so much paint, that's not necessary. If you enjoy it, you can go ahead, but I think having a small palette and learning how to do so many different paintings, it definitely helps to develop your skills and teaches you how to work with just a small amount of supplies. So I'm pretty happy with this. I do have some burnt umber. I think I'm just going to add a little bit on the side just for some added depth. But I don't actually want to darken it any more. I think it's dark enough as it is, and I'm happy to sort of leave it like that. So we've got to leave this dry now, and then we're going to come back in once that's dry, peel off and enjoy that satisfying feeling of peeling off the washi tape, and then we can go in and paint our trees. Okay, so my forest is dry now, and I used the hairdryer because it was going to take a really long time. So I'm now just going to peel off the washi tape. I did actually really long pieces, so hopefully it is actually dry and it's not going to leak through. Oops. Okay, there's one. This is how it looks once we've taken it off. I'm now going to take, or should have left that dry actually. I'm going to take my size 10 again, and I'm actually going to use a little bit of yellow ochre for our next step, and I'm also going to be using some grey. I don't know if you can see me mixing it. I'll just turn my palette around. So I've got this grey. I don't actually know where this is from. This is from a very old palette. I think it's an unbranded colour, but this grey is really beautiful because it's a neutral grey. It doesn't have the blue tone that Payne's grey has, which is why I like it so much. So I'm just going to go in now, and I'm going to, where my tree is, I'm going to brush it down and wet it slightly. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with some yellow ochre and this grey mixed together. Right, and I'm just going to add in some swoops like that, some dots. I'm just going to make it look very rough. This is just our first layer. And I'm just going to do this to every tree. And for some of the trees, I'm not going to wet it, but I'm just going to have a very loaded brush, and I'm just going to sort of swoop down, and then you're going to see, then I'm going to take my brush, remove the excess water, and I'm just sort of going to brush it away like this, just so we get some white highlights left in the tree. And then going in with the darker or more concentrated amount, I'm just going to go in and darken some of the points. So those are two ways that you can sort of play with trees. Another way, you can sort of go in with water, make the patterns that you sort of like going in a crisscross shape, and then taking your color and just adding it in, and then some of it will be on dry and some of it will be wet on wet, so you'll get more of a textured effect. And then another one that you can do is only wet half of it and just sort of go with your yellow ochre or the grey and just sort of add in a bit more of a deeper colour, and this is going to give it more of a shadow effect. So now I'm taking my brush, I've size 8, I have dipped it in water, but then I've completely taken off any of the water off of it, and then I'm going to dip a little bit of in the dark grey, and we're just going to be sort of doing this sort of swooping technique to get this texture and also a bit more darken shade to our tree. So I'm just going to pick up some more dark colour, and then just with the dry brush, sort of I'm placing it down on the paper flat. We're just going to be adding some dark, and as you can see, because it's dry, we're getting this very nice textured effect. So you can add more, you can add less. In some places, just let it vary. And some places you can let it be empty. So that's sort of how it looks. I'm going to do this for the rest of the trees, and then we'll go in with the twigs. So now for the twigs, I'm going to take the same grey mix of paint, and then using the same brush, I'm just going to start on the edge of the tree, and then we're just going to be doing sort of squiggly lines that sort of go everywhere. And then they're just going to be sort of up and down. Like so. And some trees can have them, some trees don't have to have them. I'm just going to water this down actually, because I think it's a little bit too dark for our trees. That's better. The tree, you're just going to go in with a semi wet brush, and you're going to blend in the harsh color of the twig, just so that it blends in with the tree and doesn't look sort of oddly placed. Like this, and I'm just going to remove the tape, and then our painting is done. You could add some gold to the trees, or even gold flakes. That would look amazing. Okay, so there you have it, a lovely and easy way to paint a autumn inspired birch tree forest. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial and the technique that we used, and please give this video a like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, which I can't believe, and I will see you in the next video.